Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Kev's Movie Corner. I am Kev, and this week we are talking about Easy Rider. This movie was released in 1969. It stars Peter Fonda, Dennis Hopper, and Jack Nicholson. Brief synopsis, summary, whatever you want to call it from IMDb. Two bikers head from LA to New Orleans through the open country and desert lands, and along the way they meet a man who bridges a counterculture gap of which they have been unaware. That's probably the most vague description I've seen on any of these in a while. This is directed by Dennis Hopper, who is one of the stars, who I just told you. It is written by Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper, and also Terry Southern. This movie's just over an hour and a half long, which is interesting because one of the trivia facts that I saw on it was that they don't really know how long the original cut was because a lot of the footage was lost, but it could have been anywhere from 3 to 5 hours long. They don't know. So, this could have been a really long movie, but it's not. It's just over an hour and a half. So this movie starts out with Wyatt and Billy, who are Peter and Dennis's characters, smuggling cocaine across the border from Mexico to Los Angeles, and selling it for a large sum of cash, and then taking off for New Orleans. That is the start of the movie. That's the first 5 minutes. The rest of the movie is them basically making their way from Los Angeles to New Orleans to try to make it before Mardi Gras. And them coming across different types of people along the way. One of the people they come across is a hippie, who they kind of find like a hitchhiking hippie alongside the road, who ends up taking them to a commune. There's a lot of drugs in this movie. A lot of drugs. They end up at this commune staying there for... they actually end up at a farm before this to fix a flat on one of the motorcycles that they're taking across halfway across the country, having dinner with that family. Then they end up picking up this hitchhiker, and at this kind of hippie commune in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert. They give them, they kind of stay with them for a couple days and kind of. I don't kind of live that hippie lifestyle for the kind of free love lifestyle for a couple days before moving on. The hitchhiker gives gives Billy, Peter Fonda's character, gives Billy, no, I was wrong. Gives Wyatt. I was correct the first time. Gives Wyatt some LSD and tells him to share it with the right people at the right time. They continue on. Billy and Wyatt continue on. They end up getting arrested in New Mexico while walking in a parade, or while riding in a parade, I guess. They get arrested. And this is where they meet Jack Nicholson's character, George Harrison, who is a lawyer who has been arrested for being drunk, basically. He's kind of known in the town. It seems like he's got a drinking problem. It seems like he's in there a lot for drinking. He befriends the two and ends up talks about wanting to go to New Orleans, trying to go to New Orleans in the past, and kind of gets talked into going with him and decides to go with him. So he ends up riding along with him to towards New Orleans. Along the way, they stop at a small town. They stop and camp at one point, and there's a scene where they're around a campfire, and they get George, Jack Nicholson's character, who's kind of he's an alcoholic, but he's kind of a dork, I guess you would call him. They talk him into loosening up by trying marijuana. He doesn't want to. Says that he doesn't really want to get hooked on something else or try other drugs, but he gives in and tries it, and they have this conversation about, aliens, which is kind of comical. And it just kind of is a transition into that, and how he's kind of loosening up. They end up at a small town diner in Louisiana where you have two kind of different dynamics going on. You have a bunch of young girls who think they're all cute, kind of cute, wild-looking boys, and you have a bunch of men in there, older and not all older, but a bunch of men in there who don't like them, who think they're all a bunch of hoodlums, kind of, and don't belong. The three of them decide to leave without causing any issues. The girls kind of follow them out, talking to them. They leave. Don't cause any problems. They leave the girls behind, just kind of go off and camp outside of town. In the middle of the night, a bunch of the locals come out and start attacking them. Billy pulls a knife. Wyatt and Billy are mostly left with minor injuries, but George is beaten to death while they were sleeping, and so they wrap his body in a sleeping bag and gather up all of his things and promise to take him back to his family, return him to his family. The two continue on to New Orleans. They find and go to a brothel that George has talked about. They hire two ladies and end up taking them out into the streets for the Mardi Gras celebration, and end up taking the LSD with them and going on a trip in the cemetery, which is interesting. An interesting scene that goes on for a couple minutes that's kind of trippy, which makes sense considering they're supposed to be on LSD. So again, a lot of drugs in this movie. Later they move on. As they're leaving New Orleans, they get passed by a truck and a couple of locals. Again, not kind of thinking that they belong there. one of them shoots a shotgun out of the truck at them. Um, ends up causing Billy to crash, and Wyatt comes back to see him covered in blood. Goes off to get help. When he ends up passing the truck again, the people in the truck shoot again, or the passenger in the truck shoots again, and it cuts to, you see Wyatt's motorcycle flying through the air without anybody on it, and then burning on the side of the road. And that's where it ends. It's just kind of assuming that both of them have been killed. So it's a kind of sad ending. To tell you the truth, your three main characters all die, which is, I mean, that's kind of just not a fun movie. I mean, it's a fun movie up to that point, but there's some sad, kind of just, it's considered a tragedy. It's considered a drama. It's kind of an adventure too, but it's kind of a sad movie. Some interesting things about this. I said there was a lot of drugs. They actually, so the cocaine at the beginning was not actually cocaine. It was powdered sugar. They didn't use actual LSD. I think Peter Fonda said that they couldn't afford cocaine, so they didn't use actual cocaine. They did actually smoke marijuana. Most of the script, they said, was not actually written. It was ad-libbed, and Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper were said they were stoned out of their minds for most of this movie. So that's one way to go about making a movie. They didn't have a lot of actors, actresses, crew. They would pick up people that they found along the way. A lot of the hippies in the commune and stuff like that were just people that they found. A lot of the locals that they found in Louisiana on the were just people that they found there that were kind of just actually kind of making fun of them when they were there, that they just decided to like use in this movie, which I thought was interesting. This movie had it was one of the early movies to use pre-recorded or like hit music, pop music, and not have a film score specifically made for it. There was a couple of movies before this. The Graduate came out in '67, which kind of did the same thing. But I think most of the music from The Graduate, if I remember correctly, was done by Simon and Garfunkel. This had different artists that were doing it that were like pop kind of pop music, pop culture at the time music. This movie had a budget of around $400,000. Made $60 million at the box office. This kind of kicked off the like new age Hollywood time frame for movies, and is considered like a big counterculture film for the time. There were several motorcycles that were found that were used in this. Most of them were stolen. Two of them were destroyed for the end of the movie. The other ones were stolen or destroyed. The only ones that remain are replicas. So there's really not anything left from this, which is kind of sad. Those are very popular, those would be very popular pieces, I'm sure. This was nominated for 2 Academy Awards for Best Supporting Actor for Jack Nicholson, who actually was only in the movie for 27 minutes, so less than a third of the movie he was in, and Best Original Screenplay. So it did, it got some recognition for its interestingness, I guess. It's yeah. But yeah, this was a good, it was a good movie. It's, again, it's not a happy, it doesn't have a happy ending by any means. A lot of people that were working on this film quit because apparently Dennis Hopper was paranoid on being on so much, smoking so much weed during this whole thing that he would just yell at people for no reason, just yell at people all the time. So this was just, it sounds like this was a crazy movie to work on at the time. It was, production of it took more than it sounds like more than almost a year. It was filmed in early 1968. It didn't come out until the summer of 69. That's a fun Bryan Adams song. Anyway, this says Jack Nicholson was only in the movie for 17 minutes. I saw 27 somewhere else, but anyway, so yeah, Jack Nicholson's not in it for very long for being nominated for Best Supporting Actor. But that's weird. It says this is the favorite film of Charles Manson too, which is odd. So yeah, this is it's interesting to watch. It's a good movie to watch. I'm not gonna say it's a fun movie to watch because it is a sad movie to watch, but it was a good movie to watch. I feel like Jack Nicholson's in a lot of sad movies. I feel like there's a couple movies on here that I've watched that are sad, that were Chinatown was kind of sad too, that he was in this. But anyway, I think that is it for this week, guys. Next week, we've got A Night at the Opera, which is from 1935. So, I don't know what that is. I feel like I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. I'm guessing from 1935. I'm guessing it's a black and white film. So, we've got that for next week. So, don't forget to watch that. Come back then, and we'll talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and I will talk to you next week.